Well, a groundbreaking new study by the University of the Free State has found that menstrual products used by millions of South African women actually contain hormone-disrupting chemicals, even those marketed as organic or free from harmful chemicals. Now, the research published in Science of the Total Environment actually revealed that every sanitary pad and panty liner tested contained at least 2 endocrine-disrupting chemicals, including pH phthalate and biphenol, as well as parabens, substances that are linked to hormonal imbalances, reproductive toxicity, and even cancer. Now, the findings are raising urgent concern about product safety, transparency, as well as long-term health risks for women. Actually revealed that every sanitary pad and panty liner tested contained at least 2 endocrine-disrupting chemicals, including pH phthalate and biphenol, as well as parabens, substances that are linked to hormonal imbalances, reproductive toxicity, and even cancer. Now, the findings are raising urgent concern about product safety, transparency, as well as long-term health risks for women.
Greetings, everyone. Greetings to you. I am Zion Matthew, and we're so blessed to have you join us today. It's not going to be an ordinary broadcast, but it's going to be very, very necessity for you to be able to log on and be part of this very, very important, crucial conversation that I believe that the Church of Jesus Christ should be responding to. This is an official response from the Church of Jesus Christ regarding the menstrual cups crisis, the menstrual product crisis that is currently going on in South Africa and around the world. So if you have not yet shared this broadcast, I'm inviting you right now to share this broadcast. Why does it affect you? It affects every single one of us. It affects our mothers. It affects our daughters, our sisters. It affects your grandchildren. It affects every single one of us right here in South Africa, and we are going to raise our voices so that this outcry can be heard in government and in social circles alike. So if you have not shared this broadcast yet, I'm encouraging you to share it right now on all your platforms. Copy the link in the comment section that is here. Send it to all of your contacts, people that you know that are influential, or just the ordinary woman in the street that uses menstrual cups, that uses menstrual products. And we are going to begin to get into a very, very important conversation today. And we are so blessed to have on this platform leading voices that will be able to help us understand this crisis and be able to move us into a place of understanding. And I want to welcome to the platform today Dr. Ruth Apostolov. Dr. Ruth Apostolov, that represents She Power Menstrual Cups. That is the safe alternative to menstrual products right now that is available in South Africa. She is the special envoy to the United Nations and also the founder of She Power Menstrual Cups. We also have another leading voice right now in the industry, and you're going to hear more from them in a short while. And I'm going to hand you over to Lucille Cornelius, who's a social activist in our generation that's going to be able to lead this conversation and help us understand our place as we begin to raise the red flag in our generation, to be able to get the awareness going out there of this crisis right now. And I say crisis because we as the Church of Jesus Christ has got to lead the narrative right now. Every one of you, your voice must be heard. There is coming a moment in this broadcast at the end of it where you can ask your questions and you tag it in the comment section, and we will be able to officially answer the question. If you have also not joined the petition that we have put out there, and we'll tell you all about this. But right now, over to Lucille Cornelius. I'm Zion Matthew, and if you have not yet shared this broadcast, you must share it now. Over to Lucille Cornelius.
Thank you, Prophet Zion. And I am so excited tonight to be a part of this broadcast. I believe that it's a vitally important position for the church to get involved with social issues facing us and facing the planet. And some of you may know, or some of you may not know, as was mentioned earlier on today, that the University of the Free States has done some testing on menstrual products, mainly pads and sanitary towels and panty liners, and shockingly, it was discovered that there are endocrine disrupting chemicals in those products. And we don't want to create panic, but we want to educate the church firstly, our own Jerusalem, and then into the rest of the nation and the nations of the earth. Now, this is a vitally important conversation because, like Prophet Zion mentioned just now, it affects all of us. And if you're past your menstrual stage, then of course you have children, sisters, family members that could be affected by this. And it's very important for us to discuss what are the options available to us and what we should do. So I don't know if Lungi is back online. We have a very special guest with us this evening, and her name is Lungile Gamede. She is a registered nurse and midwife. She's a reproductive health advocate. She's a founder with CIS and a UN Global Circle of Influence Award recipient. So we are in really good hands tonight. We're also with Dr. Ruth Apostolov, who has an honorary doctorate in humanities. She's a UN Special Envoy Menstrual Health expert, founder of She Power Foundation, and she is the CEO of She Power Medical Menstrual Cups manufacturer. And on that note, I must tell you that she is the only black female manufacturer in the SADC region. So she's going to be talking to us just now. But thank you, welcome Lungi, the woman that can iron out all these questions that we have. To start off with, can you explain what hormone disrupting chemicals are?
Yeah, well, thank you so much. Good evening to everyone on the line. Good evening to you wonderful ladies who have joined also in this discussion and just facilitating it. I am really honored to be here. So, to answer your question, Lucille, endocrine disruptors are basically chemicals that when they enter our bodies, right, they either inhibit certain hormones, like decreasing the levels of them, or maybe increasing the levels of those hormones thereof. So, for example, just to bring it back to our discussion today, as women, we have quite a lot of hormones that regulate our day-to-day systems, our cycle. As you know, we have what we call the menstrual cycle. So that menstrual cycle is governed by, I think it's just more than 4 or 5, a lot of hormones, right? If I just go into them
Right.
right now, will take up a lot of
Yeah.
time. But so the specific ones that we are discussing today, which are the ones that were made mentioned by the study, namely parabens, phthalates, as well as bisphenols, or otherwise known as BPE, or they include BPA. Um,
Yeah.
what these endocrine disruptors do is that when they enter into our system, they actually interfere with receptors that govern estrogen in the body. And what they do is that they can increase the levels of what we call xenoestrogens, which is like a synthetic form of estrogen in the body. And when that happens, you find that a woman gets into a state called estrogen dominance, and that when that happens, prolongedly, that leads to a whole lot of issues. Yeah, I think that's just to summarize it all. I'll just
basically
cap it there.
what they do when they enter the body. But for most people, sanitary pads are the most accessible product at the moment. So without any creating any panic or fear, um, can we have a discussion about menstrual health that empowers women with knowledge? What should they do?
Yeah. So I love that approach because that is actually not the aim is not to cause panic or alarm. I mean, I think for myself, I'm very grateful that at least I'm not the only one now talking about this. There's like a range of women across the country that are talking about this issue, and a whistle has been blown really from a very
Right.
credible source, which is a university. So I think just to empower women around, just their menstrual cycle is that we need to understand that health is a multifaceted phenomenon. Everything, almost everything that we do affects our health. What we put on
Right.
our skin, through clothing, fabric, lotions, what we bath with, what we use as soap, what we eat, our exercise routine or levels, also just our psychological states, spiritual health, also very important. So all of those things, cumulatively, they contribute to our state of well-being. So some of the things that women can do to ensure good menstrual health is, since we are discussing menstrual products today, is choose a menstrual product that is very biocompatible, that is hypoallergenic, that does not have
Right.
endocrine disruptors, that is just, really allowing you as a woman to just continue your life, your activities of daily living without any hindrances. Because I'm mentioning this is that, the menstrual product gets in touch with a very sensitive area in our body called the
Yes.
mucosa layer, right? Which is able to absorb quite a bit of what gets in contact with it. So it's very
Right.
important that we use the right products as well. And also just um, quite importantly, as we are just talking
Awareness.
around things in that area, it's important to know that managing your vaginal pH is quite important. So it's important to ensure that the
Yes.
product that you use does have
Yes.
the right pH value, and also that it doesn't interfere with the normal, what we call the normal flora. So normal flora is basically
Right.
the good bacteria that we have.
Right.
So not all bacteria is bad. I know whenever we think of
Bad. Yes.
microorganisms, we think of bugs that we just need
They
to
are the
kill.
kochas in the body, so everyone
All
wants
the
to kill them.
kochas.
Of course, some
No.
kochas are good for us, and I don't know if the
Yes.
viewers know, but we have a large amount of bacteria in our body, and that bacteria actually ensures that we live. We are also a living organism with those living organisms inside our
Exactly.
bodies. But
Exactly.
we're very Thank you so much, Sister Lungi. We're very privileged tonight to also have someone who's got the manufacturing expertise to be able to explain to us about the benefits of one of the products that we can use to counteract some damage that could be done to us. We are not accusing the pad industry of poisoning us or doing these kinds of things, but there are alternatives now that we know that these kinds of things could happen. And given that a woman uses sanitary towels for maybe 400 times in a lifetime, it's vitally important to know the benefits. So, Ruth, can you tell us what are some of the key benefits of reusable menstrual products like cups when it comes to long-term health? And also, let's not forget our first mother, the earth, our first womb. How important it is for that as well. Ruth, I'm not sure if Ruth is still with us. She did explain that there are some connectivity issues. We can come back to her. But you did mention about the mucosal tissue. How important is it for women to consider alternatives, given now that we know that our bodies are coming into direct contact with these kinds of endocrine disruptive chemicals? And what about things like tampons? Is it the same?
Okay, thank you for that question, Lucille. So, like we said, the skin in general is a living organism, right? So whatever gets in contact with the skin, like I made the example of lotions and also even the fabrics, right, that we put on our skin, gets
Yeah,
absorbed. Okay,
right,
so something like or rather the layer of the skin called the mucosa layer is extra sensitive in that it is more when we compare the porosity of just your superficial skin layer to that layer. The porosity levels are very high, meaning it can
right,
absorb more than the actual skin, where there's a certain barrier. So something like a tampon is it goes directly in contact with the mucosa layer, so it is quite important to
exactly.
be very careful around that, and just
Yes,
ensuring that if you are still going to choose that option of using a tampon, just making sure that it has all these factors that we mentioned earlier on. And also, there are some dangers around the use of tampons also, where if left inside for a prolonged time, it can lead to things such as like toxic shock syndrome, various infections, and also just affect, like we said, the pH level of the skin,
right,
or rather of,
right,
of the reproductive system, specifically the vagina, and just make it even more susceptible to other things as well. So,
right.
um, yeah, so we get the tampons, there's, it's just a bit unfortunate. I hope Dr. Ruth does come online.
I hope
But
she
there's,
does come back, because it's an important aspect to this, to for people to know that there are alternatives. And
yeah.
we're not just stuck with what's we have been told over the years to use. Like, I'm thinking of myself, when I started menstruating, it started off horribly. I was an extremely heavy bleeder, and I remember my first period was extremely traumatic. My For some odd reason, my parents took me to go and visit some family members while I got my first period, and I remember sitting on these people's couch. It was actually my aunt, and when I got up again, my clothes were soaked through. I had to go and take a bath in somebody else's bathroom. Like, in those days, there was no alternative for someone like me. I remember even my first experience was sticking the pad upside down, like with the sticky part sticking up, because although the nurses had come to school and stuff like that, but when you're 12, you really don't pay attention to these things. So I was a bit of a stupid at that point. But I wish, because I am now 50 years old, and I wish that from the age of 12, so 38 years of suffering, that there was a
Sure.
different alternative for me. There's a tendency for doctors and for just the medical, for medicine, to ignore women and ignore the kinds of things that they face. How
Mm.
often are you coming into contact with like younger people suffering from endocrine disrupting issues like PCOS and these kinds of things? Are you finding that patients are younger, and more people coming to the fore with these kinds of issues?
Yes, definitely. The cases that we are seeing in healthcare facilities of, the conditions, the reproductive conditions that you have just mentioned, such as, PCOS, also uterine fibroids. There's also a very, very high number of cases of endometriosis as well. So it's quite scary, to see. I mean, I don't have the exact prevalence or incidence figures right now, but just from
Of
my
course.
day-to-day interactions and just seeing what is happening in these gynecological wards, there is definitely a higher number of girls, of women who, are having a diagnosis such as these that we've just been mentioning. So it's actually quite scary, and it's sad also how sometimes someone will come late, having endured, like you're saying, very traumatic periods for years upon years, heavy bleeding, and our society has just also normalized women suffering so much, which I'm totally against. For example, just the issue of painful periods, that is not normal. It is not normal for women, for girls, menstruators across to just experience such debilitating pain, to such an extent that someone is not even able to go to school, not even able to go to work, or if push comes to shove, they have to just load themselves with so much painkillers and anti-inflammatories, just to function. And this happening for years upon years upon years, and only to find that at a later stage, perhaps there's like a diagnosis of what, stage 4 endometriosis, for example. So it's just, if you're a woman out there watching right now and you are experiencing like period pains that I'm explaining, please just note that it's not normal to live like that. Please do seek help as soon as possible. So, and also heavy menstrual bleeding as well. I mean, the signs are vast. There's just so much to just take note of as red flags, including long periods. If you bleed for more than 7 days, that's not normal at all. If you have to change your pad, if you are using a pad for more than every 2 hours, and every time you do so after 2 hours the pad is soaked, that is also not considered normal. And also, if you have to just see all the time very, very big clots coming out of your vagina when you are in your period, on your periods, that's also just an alarm to raise. And also, it's just quite important to to be mindful also of the kind of menstrual product that you use, because I like to tell women that it's very important to be mindful of your own health. So going back to the type of menstrual product that you use, it's important to have one that is able to depict to you the kind of blood that you are releasing. Are they clots, etc. So I think, just in a nutshell, I hope I've answered your question well, Lucia.
Thank you so much. It seems that we've lost Ruth, but do you um, know about the benefits of perhaps using a menstrual cup as opposed to other products? Are you aware of those benefits?
Yes. Oh, you know what? I feel like a menstrual cup has just been such a blessing, honestly, because firstly, it is considered a medical grade device, meaning
Right,
that it has to go through various testings, which brings comfort to me because I use medical devices, when caring for my patients, such as like
right,
an IV line, that
right,
goes directly into your vein. So it has to have a level of sterility that is conducive to,
right.
to well-being and health. So it's the same concept even with the menstrual cup. It's made from also a very biocompatible material called silicone, and this particular one, from She Power, I've learned over just a few years working with Dr. Ruth that the kind of silicone that are used, or that is used in these menstrual cups, is actually medical grade silicone, which can be likened to the kind of silicone that we use in hospitals and clinics for these IV lines that I've mentioned, these urinary catheters, etc.
Right.
So those are just
So
surface
it
level
means,
benefits. Yes,
right,
yes.
fantastic. So it means that these products actually go through several different layers of testing, like even SABS, these kinds of organizations that monitor the safety of products. And incidentally, I read somewhere that pads and these kinds of products, panty liners, don't go through the same types of testing. They're not SABS approved, they're not health approved or anything like that. And it just proves my point that, women's health has been taken quite casually. I remember when I had to have the Minerva inserted, and before I could get there, I was having a consultation with the gynecologist who happened to be male. And as I was leaving, he ran behind me and he said, Mrs. Cornelius, it's going to be a little bit uncomfortable when you come back to have this procedure. Take 2 paracetamol, he said to me. I don't know. It probably was the Lord that helped me the day when I went for the procedure, but I took to alleviate menstrual pain tablets, which was probably the right thing to do because it obviously. But I almost passed out from the pain as it was being inserted because there's not even any numbing cream or anything like that applied for this procedure. And I almost passed out. And I remember it was a young female gynecologist, and she walked around and she did this to me. You can take it. You can take it. And I'm saying tonight, as an activist, we are not going to take it anymore. Stop abusing our bodies and just throwing things at us. We want to make informed decisions. And on that note, I welcome Dr. Ruth Apostolov back to the broadcast. Thank you, Dr. Ruth. We were just discussing about the fact that pads don't go through the same rigorous testing that menstrual cups go through. So, can you tell the audience, talk them through the procedure and the safety of the device and how it's such a more safe, I would use that word in inverted commas, option for women?
Okay, thank you. I'm not sure where I just did and went and talked to myself for about a few minutes. So where did you lose me? Right at the beginning. Did you
We
lose me at the
lost you right
beginning?
at the beginning.
Okay.
Yes, when I was
Okay.
asking the
All
first
right.
question, but it's fine. We've discussed, so now we're at the point where
Okay.
you can tell us about the menstrual cup. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So let's go back to just to summarize about that findings and where we're at the moment. I think it's very important for every single woman, every single menstruator, every single woman that's of the age where they've exited the menstruation cycle to understand that we told to take a chill pill in those words and that we need to not make a big deal of it. And then my question as an activist, as a woman, is how much of exposure is okay? And for people like myself who've menstruated for 43 years, but have used a pad for 40 years, how long is long? So we need to be asking ourselves as women. And I think what has happened now is a perfect storm has been created. I call it a perfect storm because it now puts the onus on us as women to be saying, I need to be intentional. I'm no longer going to be relying on a big brand that's got deep pockets to tell me something is safe. I need to make sure I'm reading labels. I'm understanding what it means. We've got access to far too much of information in 2026 to be ignorant
Absolutely.
and then to say,
Yeah.
oh my God. Because we've come from the generation where our parents, we've had the problem with the Johnson and Johnson talcum powder. We realized decades later, women all over the world have developed all sorts of health issues as a result of that unsafe. We do not want to be as women, as leaders, as mothers, and as whatever positions we hold in society, to be able to say, you had this information, that there was some levels of exposure, but you were told by men who are the patriarchal gatekeepers to all these industries that, oh, it's just a little bit of exposure. There's no relation causationally to this here. That's what we've been told. But we're saying we need the women leaders to come forward and to look us in our eyes and to categorically say that we can continue business as usual. Because now that this Pandora's box, as I call it, has been opened, we cannot go back it'll never be business as usual, because now the
No.
young girls, we deal with thousands of girls a week. Sister Lungi and I, we work with the schools, we go to the communities, and the question that's being asked is, what do we do from here? So in
Right.
preparation for all this, long before this, we were very much aware that there is these studies and data, but it was coming from global institutes. But now the
Right.
difference is this comes from local peer reviews. And now this becomes a local problem to solve. And now everyone's paying attention to the situation. Where we're at the moment is to understand that there are safer, sustainable options. And we are no longer in 2026 going to be okay because men are running these industries. Men are deciding what is there for women to use. Men are holding positions that decides the quintiles 1, 2, and 3, the poorest of the poor children, what products they get. So we ask the questions: where's the menstrual justice? Where is the justice in this? Because we have options A, B, and C. The poorest of the poor, they do not have. They rely on the handouts that they're given. So if they are given a substandard product that is dangerous for them, where does it put these children? Where does it put these children that are there, that we are part of the communities, that it takes a village to raise a child? We're always saying that, but what does that truly mean? So
Yeah.
therefore, we're having these platforms where we're empowering, where we're giving you information. Once you get this information, you can no longer plead ignorance because it's
Absolutely.
2026. You've evolved with your looks, with your hairstyle, with technology. You've got fancy phones. We're able to sit here. Zion's in America, Lucille's in Durban, we're in Johannesburg. There's people from Namibia on the line. Technology has evolved. Why have we women not made it our business to be intentional about issues that affect us for 40, 45 years of our lives? Why have we allowed the mainstream media to help us decide on what to use? And now we sit with egg on our face, disappointed and saying, oh my God, but these are all multinationals. What do we do now? So we saying to the women out there, there is safer options, there is alternatives. Maybe you were so comfortable up to when before this report was released. Maybe up to 2025, you were comfortable when what your mother suggested, what your granny suggested you use. But now we at a situation. It is what it is. Now we're saying, what are the safe options? And I thank God when I started She Power Medical Manufacturing a few years ago, my focus was solely on making sure regulatory standards and safety was of paramount importance before the commercialization of the product, of the aspect is even taken into consideration. So
Right.
a menstrual cup, let me be clear, and I need all you ladies that are going to go out after this broadcast and go and take that torch that's been lit, and you're going to go and light for the next and for the next and for the next. We need to make you understand. And I'm going to talk in the simplest way possible. A pad and a tampon is a feminine hygiene product, which means the manufacturing of it is completely falls under like a general consumer product. A menstrual cup is a class 2 medical device. Now, I want you to let that sink in for a minute. It's a class 2 medical device. As fancy as that sound, what it means quite simply is that it's manufactured throughout the process, from raw material through the manufacturing process, through packaging, through the biological testing. That entire process is a medical manufacturing process. We are licensed by the South African Health Regulator. We are meeting the international medical high ISO standards. We've got international safety testing for for cytotoxicity, which is at cellular level, vaginal sensitivity, vaginal irritation. So we're talking about the safety aspect. A menstrual cup is medical silicone. Now, to put this in context, some of us, I won't mention names, have got breast implants, which are medical silicone. That lives inside of our bodies, which means the medical silicone, the body sees it as it's biocompatible. The body does not see it as a foreign object. It's biocompatible. A menstrual cup is hypoallergenic. It will not upset your vaginal pH. It will not give you thrush. The list goes on. There's no fragrance, there's no BPA, there's no phthalates. It's 100% medical silicone. We manufacture in a medical facility that is conducive to manufacturing medical devices such as cannulas, catheters, syringes, and so on and so forth. It's very important to understand you cannot possibly compare a single use product like a pad to a menstrual cup. We are not talking like for like. This classification of a class 2 medical device already flips the script on what people associate a menstrual cup to the same category of a pad and a tampon. Nothing, nothing, nothing. Now, a menstrual cup is a beautiful, soft, pliable, bell shaped menstrual product. A pad and a tampon's job is to absorb the blood. The job of a menstrual cup is not rocket science. A job of a menstrual cup is to very innocently sit in your vaginal canal and collect blood. That's all its job is to do, is to sit there and collect blood. But now we're going to also show you how to insert a menstrual cup, because a lot of people saying, I mean, I was speaking to some government official that happens to be a man, and I'm talking about a menstrual cup, and he kept saying, is it the same cup that you drink tea in? Is it that type of a cup? And it's a lot of ignorance, it's a lot of fear, because we fear the unknown. And for decades, our mothers, grandmothers passed down pads to our mothers. We passed it down to us. And God help us that we don't now do that to the next generation and the next generation to that. Because in 2026, if everything has evolved, we have got to understand that our period product has got to evolve to sustainable solutions, to healthier options, and to solutions, because we women in this 21st century do not have the luxury of not working. We are leaders in our communities. We are mothers. We are wives. We run businesses. We hop on planes at short notice. We cannot afford, not just financially, we cannot afford to manage our life schedule around our 5 to 7 days of period, because that is 5 to 7 days is going to be the status quo of our lives for 40 odd years until we get into menopause. So we have got to understand, how do we balance being leaders? How do we balance being mothers? And how do we balance being a menstruator all in one go, and be able to go pick up the children, take them to the park, go to work, conduct board meetings, jump on a plane, go to a department and go to meetings. We have got to understand how to navigate lives as women whilst we are on our period. And that was one of the most amazing reasons, one of the reasons that I decided that I will be the African continent's medical manufacturer of this disruptive 21st century period product. Because when I heard I can gym with it, I can swim with it, not that I'm a big swimmer, still have to learn how to swim, but be that as it may, that I'm able to go to board meetings and just live life without limits. I was amazed, and there is no way that having a period and being a woman and separating your responsibilities as a mother and as societal leaders, you can never separate these issues. So a menstrual cup is all about period freedom and period dignity. So it's very simple. Many questions are going to be asked. Can a young girl use it? Will it interfere with the virginity? And I will quote a very popular gynecologist that I've heard on the radio as well yesterday. He says, I've delivered babies from women that have had 3 vaginal births, but they've still had their hymen intact. We do not want to cross paths with traditions, and we want to be respectful to all facets of society that do believe in how they test virginity and all that. We're not going to be tramping on anybody's toes. But what we can tell you scientifically is that a menstrual cup will not destroy or not take away a girl's virginity. Let me repeat that. A menstrual cup sits in a vaginal canal and it will not interfere with a young girl's virginity. And that
Okay.
is what most mothers of young teenage girls are worried about, that it's not going to interfere with the virginity.
There's some
So
other
now,
questions coming
okay.
up,
So
and
Lucille, do you
no, there's questions coming up for you that people are asking. So maybe we can just do that right now as it's happening live.
can
One
go
of them is the product reusable, seeing that it's made from silicone?
Absolutely. So a menstrual cup is reusable for up to 10 years. We're obliged to give a shelf life, a period of when it's able to use. But I have met a girl from the UK who has had a menstrual cup since she was 17 and she was 34 and she came to South Africa and she says, Ruth, the only thing that will happen over time is that your blood would cause this beautiful shade of lilac to change color. The integrity of the silicone will never change. It's
Right. It's
non-porous,
having
so
a
you do
breast
not have to
implant
worry about
also.
it. Yes. You don't have to worry about it getting mold or bacteria, all that. So let's start off. When you start off the menstrual cup on your first day of your daughter's or your period, whatever, you wash your hands with soap and water. Your menstrual cup does not need anything except a cup of hot or cold water. No detergents, no soap. It's medical silicone. It does not need complications. So there's one of 3 ways. You either just fold it in half to make a C fold. My favorite fold is this push down fold. The idea is to make a point. The insertion is very similar to that of inserting a tampon. So you want to get a point. That is the aim of the folding process. Or you can do the other push down where you can make it, but the idea in whichever fold, I repeat, is to get a nice pointy tip. So, your vagina is a muscle. I was asked by a women's shelter, and I always say, there's no question that's a stupid question. When you're trying to educate, it's very important that you understand. And there might be some elderly people here that might be offensive because, and I say most of the church's congregation are women. We should be able to have these conversations, and I always say Jesus stopped for the woman with the issue of blood. That she was not on his agenda, but he stopped for her. So,
Absolutely.
and I always say, I mean, you can never separate your congregants and say, we are here to fulfill your spiritual need, and we'll put the rest of your issues as a woman is for you to sort out. So I'm really grateful to Zion for being able to open these conversations for these women, because not many churches do that. They shy away. They do not want women to be empowered. So, so thank you to the team. So you've made your point. Now, all you want to do is your vagina is a muscle. I beg your pardon. Sorry, just give me a.
Okay,
I beg your pardon.
Wendy, we're going to take
So
Wendy's
your vagina.
question.
Okay, so you can put the questions up. So now we're going to do your vagina is a muscle for those women that say, what if my vagina stretches and then it won't be pleasurable for my husband? Your vagina is a muscle. We push 3 kilogram babies out of there. So don't have to worry about your vagina
To it.
stretching and whatever. It is a muscle. So you need, when you're about to insert it, you need to relax because you don't want any contractions happening. You want to relax. So very simply, it's a minute. All you have to do is elevate your leg. I usually do it in the shower. It's just easier to empty and clean out and whatever. You elevate your leg and you literally insert it into your vaginal canal. Absolutely easy peasy. So now it's sitting in your vaginal canal. When you insert it, it forms a vacuum or a suction. Therefore, you're able to swim. I do rebounding for exercise, and rebounding is jumping. So trust me, I rebound. I've been rebounding with the menstrual cup. That is the beautiful thing about it. You sleep with it. So it creates the suction. So even when you're sleeping, I'm a side sleeper. There's no
Okay.
backflow. There's no messing. The first day you
Oh,
use it, I always say, try and use a little panty liner, a safe one, because if you have a bit of a leak, that means somewhere it's sitting unpopped. So all you do is you just twist it like this until it pops. You will feel it popping. And it's so beautiful because your vagina is really a moist area and this is silicone. So when you insert it, it takes the shape of your vagina. It's like you're putting a glove on your hand. When you take the
right.
glove, it takes the shape of your hand. And when you take it out, your hand is still the way it is. There's no change in it. So now you've put it on. If you're a heavy bleeder, go after 5 hours and take it out. So now you're going to say, how do I take it out? So now it's been sitting there. You go to the bathroom, don't interfere with it. You do whatever business in the bathroom, you leave it in there because you do your businesses through the other entrance and exits. This sits in your vaginal canal. It does not need to be interfered with.
Yes.
All you do, if you're a heavy bleeder, I say go after 5 hours, take it out, and then see how full it is, and then we go from there. So, how do you take it out? This is called the stem. All you do is put your finger just above the stem on the base. You pinch it. When you pinch it, it breaks the suction or the vacuum that was created when you inserted it. And then all you do is you empty it out into your basin and your sink, you shower or you wash, whatever, you put it on, you go to sleep, and you press repeat. Very, very
Right.
important that people are saying, how do I know when to empty it out? For the heavy, and the beautiful thing that I like about a menstrual cup is your period may be starting in the 20th of March. You get your cup today. Go to work with it. Start practicing with it. Practice the insertion. Practice going to sleep with it. Practice going a whole day to work. So when you and then go home, take it out and do your and shower or whatever. So when you start your period, you've already got a head start and you've already practiced. So you
Right.
just rinse it, you reinsert it, and this menstrual cup is good for over 10 years. So I'm going to just leave it to the questions and we can take it from there. Lucille, maybe you can read some questions.
Right. So there's some really great questions. Somebody asked, Wendy asked, what if my sensitivity and my body is not used to a menstrual cup? but it affects me because I'm sensitive as a woman that has her menstruation every month.
Well, I'm not quite sure whether Wendy's referring to the sensitivity in terms of getting discharges, but before I answer Wendy's question, it's very
Yes.
important that women understand that when you use a menstrual cup, unlike the pad and tampons that absorb the blood, a menstrual cup collects the blood. Now, when you collect the blood, you can see the color of the blood. You can
Okay.
see blood is supposed to have a specific shade of crimson, as
Right.
Lungi calls it, crimson. That's how I discovered I was low grade anemic, because when I was dropping it into my white sink and I took a little play video to say, oh, for 12 hours, that's all the blood I've got. And I sent it to my daughter and she said, send that to your doctor. And that's how my doctor said, go and do bloods. And that's how I discovered I was low grade anemic. Because when it's collecting the blood, you can
Right.
see the
It's
color. There's a
seen. Right.
specific shade that it's supposed
It's supposed to be a
there's
dark
a
red.
certain amount of clotting that there's a
It's normal.
certain amount of, because when you're having a period, it's a combination of your blood, the uterine lining, mucus, and then a lot of women are clotting for literally 5 and 7 days, which is not normal.
That's not
So
normal.
there's a lot of things that we have accepted as normal. And as Lungi would say in her closing, debilitating period pains is not normal. There's a lot we've accepted as normal out of ignorance. And that is why we've got to have more of these conversations, more of these talks where we're sharing information as women and where we're saying, you know what, this is what makes us who we are. So to Wendy's question about her being sensitive, there again I say a menstrual cup might not be for everybody, but if you're talking about sensitive, it's to you on the other side. It might look like, oh my God, it's hard and whatever. This literally goes in and takes the shape, and it fits in so beautifully that I've often and myself we've forgotten we've even got the menstrual cup inside of us because it is so comfortable and so you can't feel it. So, Wendy, I don't know if that answered your question because, you have to try it in order to see if it works. I say try it for 1 or 2 cycles. The only thing women say is, why didn't I try it sooner? I was so scared. Well, what's the worst
Yeah.
that can happen? What is the worst that can happen?
I mean, you
It's a
spend
safe
your
medical
money,
product.
and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But the possibility that it doesn't work
I
is
would
minimal.
say it's very minimum. And I would say, you know what? You would never know if you don't try. And we're talking about 21st century products. We need to get away from those big, fat, bulky diapers that just really holds us back. Any
Okay, so there's a
questions, Ruth, that
question.
you can?
Yes, there's a question about the virginity of young women, and whether it can affect that. And then somebody wants to know if these products are available on the shelf, and which stores. So I know the answer to that. You can go to the She Power website that's on the
Yeah,
screen there.
Fidelia yes.
It's been on the screen the whole
It's
time.
not on the screen.
Now it's
Yeah.
not there, but yeah, they will put it back up and you can go and order from there. But let's deal with myths and kind of taboo things that exist around this kind of product, because I do know culturally, especially us Indians and also black people, and traditionally, young women are, uh, their virginity is very, very important.
Yeah. Yes, and we will not take that away from them. it's a case of awareness and education, Lucille. That is what Lungi and I and my team, we spend so much of effort. We never, ever, ever go to a school and just say, somebody's given us money, here we're blessing this entire school. We cover
Right.
reproductive health, sexually transmitted diseases, teenage pregnancy. We do biology 101. We make sure that the girls that are virgins understand that this is safe for them. The safety is what these kids are concerned about because this is a new
Right.
product. They know that America and Europe, all these sportswomen are using this product. But when you bring it to
Right.
Africa, we're talking a mind shift change. And another thing that I've also mentioned on a radio station is we've got to get out this obsession that if it's an overseas product, it's a good quality, that if it's a local product, that it's not. I think it's quite the contrary because there's a lot of accountability when it's local. There's accountability, and that's what's important because with transparency comes accountability. So we need to understand localization is important, and Africa has got to produce solutions for its African women, and that's exactly what the She Power is about.
Well, I would challenge you on that because I
And
actually think that this kind of product, although you're answering an African problem, it's something that affects women globally because, as you know, I live in Europe, and
absolutely.
menstrual pads are still the major menstrual product. So when I go back home, I am going to be doing some investigations because I would actually believe that these things are existing in those products as well. Somebody needs to do perhaps a test on those products on that side. Cheryl wants to know, is it cost effective? And after that,
Absolutely.
can you also address the fact that we do have a very big poverty issue in South Africa? So how do we offer this solution to communities that are struggling financially?
Okay, so because a menstrual cup on our website, you'd pay 295 Rand for a menstrual
Right.
cup. It comes in this gorgeous case. It's all, and they come in different sizes and they come in this beautiful packaging here. So it's really about dignity and about loving your periods. And of course, if it's you're paying 295 Rand plus your for wherever in South Africa, your courier to your door is an extra cost to the courier, but it's 295 Rand. You can't even begin to compare that for 10 years over the fact of what the other single-use products are about. And I think, Lucille, from a European point of view, we're talking sustainability, we're talking about the UN SDG, the SDGs. But if we to understand that I think our planet is suffocating with all these single-use products that are now in that our landfills are consumed, our seas, our rivers, our water supplies. There is just no
Absolutely.
more outlets but to be finding spaces. So we got to understand not only we doing a service to our body by using now thinking about this the mental switch of moving from everything that we our reset has been for pads. That's been our reset mode is pads. That's all we think. And now we got to
Yeah.
understand that it's an environmental issue as well. So it's in its entirety. It's a game changer on absolutely every level. And for the marginalized communities, we've got the She Power Foundation, and we partner with a lot of corporates, a lot of other NGOs, and we target schools and communities and women's shelters that we go to, and we take these menstrual cups through them
This is
that corporates pay
absolutely
for through their CSR.
amazing work. Amazing work.
Soon
Shanique,
after giving birth, got a
yes.
Shanique, yes. That's a very good question, Shanique. So for women that have had vaginal births, obviously when you have vaginal births, you have birth, you're still quite raw, and you're still healing on the inside. But I reckon after 6 weeks of healing, absolutely yes, absolutely yes. And there again, I have to put the proviso to say it's not for every single person, because when we go out and we've done data, data speaks for itself. If we've done 1,000 girls, if we do a sample of 10, 7 will say I love it, I love it, I love it. 2 would say,
Right.
I still got it, I'm a bit scared. 1 would say, I'm too scared, I put it in and I don't know how to take it. I'm just giving you data from some of the school kids. So we're saying, you know what is the worst thing that can happen? You're going to love it, or after 2 or 3 cycles, you're going to say, you know what? It's like this tight shoe. It's just not working for me. But I think under the current situation and circumstances, the question is, what are the safe options? And we're saying She Power menstrual cup is one of the safe options out there.
Right. And so, looking at this whole thing, I mean, we know that menstrual cups seem to, after listening to you, it seems to be like the best solution. But what is, if any, are the alternatives in case women just find it
Yes.
incompatible for them?
Perhaps we can throw this to Lungi. We can give Lungi an
Yeah,
opportunity to answer.
we lost Lungi a while back now, and I don't know uh,
Oh, did
if
we?
she
Okay. All right.
tried.
There are, you see, also it's very, can you hear me, Luz?
Yes, I can. I can hear you
Can you
perfectly.
hear? Very
Yes.
important. I got to put a disclaimer here because I was on a
Yeah.
radio station and the presenter did say, now you're talking menstrual cups. So can we say people can rush out to their store and just go and buy any menstrual cup? There we need to be careful because being in this industry, I know that we are the only manufacturer that meets the medical regulatory standards. The rest that are there are white labeled. So you're going to run into a situation like we're at the moment, where you're getting a product that is sitting on a shelf, you trusting because it's on a retail shelf that means it's safe. We need to do our homework. Unfortunately, there's a lot of burden on us as consumers to start being more intentional about reading food labels, reading medicine labels, reading your lotions. I read my creams on my, I read my lotions, and as far as possible, where you can mitigate and make sure there's no parabens and no sulfate free. Let's try and be intentional where we can. So, having said that, as I always say, not all menstrual cups are created equal. So, make sure you're looking for a product, and I'm just not sure. Then you have reusable panties, I believe. But there again, you need to find
Again,
out
we're
what
not
fibers
sure
are used.
about the
I can only
manufacturing
I can only vouch.
process.
There you go. Then they're gonna say, well, what fibers are made in this here? Is it polyester? Is it this or whatever? So there again, I can only vouch for what I know. There are other
Right.
reusable options.
Right.
But there
Right.
again, we got to be smart. We got to start
And I
being
would say,
intentional,
you
and we
know,
got to start.
we should support someone that we actually know, not just for the fact that we want to support your business because we know you, but we cannot hold large corporations accountable when things go wrong. That's a very hard fight. But here's somebody who we know, who's talking to us, whose face we've seen, and we can come back and say, hey, Ruth, there's a problem with your product. And then there's some kind of answerability. With large corporations and big pharma, there's no accountability, and there's large sections of the economy that are dominated by these kinds of people, and we need to take our power back as women. We need to make informed choices. And I'm really appreciative of someone like you that's willing to talk to us to say, okay, this is what you can do to change. Because I am 50 years old, like I said to everybody earlier on. And for maybe 35 years of my life, I suffered, really, really suffered with my periods. Nobody ever bothered to solve the problem. And I'm thinking now, could it have been that 35 years I used these pads and sometimes tried even tampons, but I could never ever use tampons for some reason. They always just bothered me. Could I have, contributed to my own menstrual issues by using these products? Because fibroids and endometriosis and endless problems. So it's so important, ladies, to take back our health. And if you're post menopause and you don't need to worry about periods anymore, congratulations, but there's other people that you can spread the news to. It's vitally important that we discuss with friends and family. I mean, my sister is just 2 years older, I mean, younger than me, and we were discussing this, and my sister is 47 and she still has such bad periods. And somebody is discussing here how they have to use 2 and 3 and 4 pads. I was that person. What about nighttime? No pad is designed to cover the back of the underwear like a V shape, because when you lay down, the blood goes with the shape of your body, so it leaks in every direction. And there's not been a solution up till now. And I'm a person that cannot stand tampons, and there was no solution all this while. Here is Lungi back again. Welcome, Lungi. That's so good to see you. So we're discussing how, um, you know, the menstrual cup is one of the many. I'm saying not many. One of the few options that we can use now that we know this. But what else can women do besides using She Power's really amazing product?
Sure. Yeah, there are some options and alternatives out there. There's also another, it falls in the same category as the menstrual cup. It's called the menstrual disc. I'm just not sure. I've never used it, so I'm not sure how it really works. But it's also,
Right.
silicone based, and it's. I think after this session, it's the onus is on women to just really find out that, okay, if this menstrual disc is silicone, is it medical grade silicone? Like how we have been assured that the She Power menstrual cup is medical grade. And also, is it not mixed with other plastics? Does it not have PBA, bisphenols, and things like that? Um, there are also period panties. Again, with period panties, it's also important to note the kind of material that these period panties are. Is it synthetic fibers, such as polyester, such as spandex? Um, Advisably, it's important to go for reusable period panties or reusable pads. You remember the cloth ones that
Yes.
our gogos and our
Right.
moms, also used to
Right.
use. That these fibers are actually natural fibers that are also organic. And namely bamboo and also cotton. Also, just being mindful of the kind of dyes used and so forth. So those are just some of the products that we have available. If you want to go the reusable used, but there are also some pads, that are also made from these organic cotton materials and bamboos. But again, we've been educated. We know what to look out for. So again, read those labels. But again, I don't know if I'm not sure if we can trust these labels now. Because
That's
I
what you
mean, the
were saying.
manufacturer.
I was saying that Dr. Ruth, we can see her, we can see her face, we know her personally. Some of us know her personally, but the people that are on the broadcast tonight, there's the face of the person. So we actually have a person that we can hold accountable besides using her product. If there's some comeback, she can stand up and respond. These other people, we can't do that to. We can't hold big pharma accountable. Some overseas manufacturer that's sending their leftovers to Africa, we don't know. Somebody actually told me the other day that um, Africa is like a dumping ground for certain kinds of products. Actually, it was my husband that told me that we need to investigate the quality of the products that are coming to Africa. He said that he's pretty sure that the quality of the products that go to Europe being manufactured by the same company is probably not the same kind of product that comes here. So we need to be like extra careful. Something we haven't discussed on the broadcast, which is very important, especially where we are as a world right now, is the financial aspect of things. Because 295 Rand divided over 10 years is 2 Rand 95 per year. I went into the store. My sister asked me to buy the night menstrual pads, and it was 75 bucks. 75 bucks every month. That's a lot of money, right? Spending that amount of money. But if you're spending 300 Rand and you're not spending it for 10 years, we're saving a lot of money as well. It's a really cost effective way of dealing with your period, which you have for most of your adult life.
But I think, Lucille, it's very important that we use this platform, not just, it must not be seen as we pushing a product. We are
No,
here to say to the women, we are here to say to the women that it doesn't matter if you even don't consider the menstrual cup, if it's never part of your conversation. We want to say to the women, you need to take your power back. You need to make informed choices. We need to be holding brands accountable for transparency, ingredient labeling, and so on and so forth. And we as consumers, we need to not be falling for advertisements that are making a whole lot of promises. You need to start, the onus is on you, your
right.
health and your well-being. And we're very excited to also be able to tell you, watch the space. We are now going to be launching, it's Women's Month, and we're going to be launching hashtag my vagina has standards. So we're so grateful for all these organizations that are behind us, because at the end of the day, women, we play an important role, not just in the kingdom, but in society. And yet again, I want to thank Zion. He's not just my brother, he's my spiritual mentor. I want to thank him for his love for the woman. And I've never seen any ministry that gives platforms and opportunities to women like the Awake team does. They hold the woman in the highest esteem. And he was the one that pushed to say, we need to get on this. This is a crisis. It affects. We've got, even though we've got elderly women, they've got children, they're responsible. Let's do this. We need to do this. So we want to really thank him, and we want to thank the Awake team,
Absolutely.
and thank you, ladies, for taking your time to listen to what we have to say. Hopefully, you are
Yes.
empowered how to go and empower the next one. You know, they say each one teach one.
Yeah.
So that's how it's got to be.
Absolutely.
We've got to now take our fire and continue lighting. So, on that note, this was not a session about pushing products. If anyone's interested, you're interested. If no one's interested, if we've just imparted some knowledge to you about your vagina health matters, because your vagina health can lead to other secondary problems in health. Am I correct, Lungi?
Yes, definitely. Definitely. It is quite important, vaginal,
I just
especially
want to
because
read
it's
this
absorptive.
comment. Absolutely. Your vagina is one of the most important parts of your body because it allows things to enter your bloodstream, because the skin is very soft and permeable. That's why women are more susceptible to sexually transmitted diseases. They're like the host that the disease catches on with them more. Sometimes a man can pass on HIV to a woman and not be infected himself. I learned that to the shock of my brain because of the susceptibility of the vagina. Lauren Cupido says, I'm so glad I'm in this live. I've been back and forth about this cup and been in the site so many times, but never hit the purchase button. I'm always overthinking. So now I feel way more comfortable and reassured. My daughter is 11 years and just got her period for the first time. I'm still wondering if this will be okay for her, but I'll definitely try it out first. That's absolutely wonderful, Lauren. This is how we become responsible now for our next generation. Now that we know, we need to be careful about how we educate. You're in that perfect place because your daughter has just started her menstruating life, and it's going to be a long life cycle, right? For maybe
So maybe
30,
maybe I
even
can
maybe
pick up
40
there
years.
and say to Lauren, Lauren, it's very good that you want to use it, but for your daughter, my youngest menstrual cup user is a young girl called Roxy. Roxy first started using it at 12 years old. She's got cerebral palsy, and I'm sure her mom Trish wouldn't mind me mentioning it here, because for the disabled and for these kids that have got a bit of a challenge, challenges. This is such a game changer for them. I mean, Roxy is thriving. She started at 12. I mean, we hear such amazing things that Roxy needs to swim for part of her rehabilitation and her health. And Roxy swims while on her period. She's now able learned how to insert it herself and take it out herself. So while having said that, Wendy, I think wait for your daughter to be at least 15 or 16 before you try it on there, because I find that the girls under 14, they still can't get the idea of some inserting something into the vaginal canal. But it's definitely something, these kids can play sport and can really live life without limits. Although for me, myself, I always say it's especially from grade 10 onwards, because that age girls, they understand the concept and they're not shy and they're very comfortable with it.
Okay, I think we are at the end of our session tonight. It's been really, really informative. Thank you so much, Dr. Ruth, Sister Lungi. Are there any closing statements you want to make before I say my closing statement and we say goodbye to everybody that's on this broadcast? By the way, there are some males on our broadcast as well, and I'd like to congratulate them. Thank you, men, for joining in and also educating yourselves about the period crisis right now.
Yes, I think I'll
I just
go
want to say
just because.
to, um, yeah, Lungi, it's
Sorry,
fine.
yes,
Sorry, I think there's a bit of a delay. Can you hear me? Am I
no
audible?
problem. Yes, you're
Okay.
audible. Please go ahead.
All right. Well, I think it's also quite timely that we are talking about this, during Endometriosis Awareness Month. So yeah, I think my final remarks would just be that ladies, women, menstruators must just know that painful periods are not normal, debilitating periods are not normal. And yeah, please, if you find yourself in that situation, please get assistance ASAP, and just take control. Take control over your menstrual health.
Right, absolutely. Dr. Ruth.
And I just want to say in closing that we should be able to have this discussions around the table with our daughters and our granddaughters. We are supposed to be an empowered generation, and it's time, and even with our young sons, we must never exclude our sons out of the conversation. And that is the biggest mistake that we are making, is that we are saying it's not a boy issue. That boy is going to date a girl who's one day going to also marry a woman, and they're going to have daughters. The earlier we educate our sons and include our boys in these conversations, the better society is going to be, because we do not want young boys to see a woman's vagina as something that only gives them pleasure and that they can take and make a ownership of it. We were mothers and grandmothers and sisters must sit around the table and have these candid conversations without doing what our old mothers did. It's out. We're not allowed. Ignorance is not an option in 2026. If you're wanting to lead an empowered generation, you got to make that start around your dining room table in your space of where you've got influence as a woman. Let's make period talk and period conversations a normal women's group, and it's just normal part of a life's conversation. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Sister Lungi and Dr. Ruth. In closing, I want to make a few statements. I will purchase one menstrual cup. I don't get my period anymore, but I will buy it for somebody younger than me so that they can try it out. And I'm leaving you with a challenge. If you no longer get your period, but if you're in the position financially to be able to get it for someone else, do that. If you in the menstruating age and you heard this information tonight, that there could be products, could be chemicals in our products that could interrupt our hormone cycle, that could be bad for our vaginas and bad for our health in the long run. Like Sister Lungi says, if your hormones are affected, your entire health system is affected, and it can have a knock on effect for many years to come. So we need to take that seriously. Thirdly, do not let anybody red light you. We got the gas light. I found out today about white lighting, but what about red lighting, where women's periods are not taken seriously and we're told all sorts of kinds excuses about how we should feel and what we should do. This is your body, so it's your choice what you can choose for it, and you make an informed choice. You make an informed decision. Don't let anybody red light you. That's the three of us tonight having this powerful conversation. I actually think that it's something that we need to do over and over again. But thank you so much for watching. If you want to find out anything about the menstrual cup, She Power menstrual cup, the number is on the screen: 072 535 6478, or go onto the website www.shepower.co.za. Special thanks to Prophet Zion and Man of God Fidelio for assisting to host this program tonight. God bless you. We love you, and we hope to hear from all of you about your results soon. Take care. Bye bye.